So, Michaela, welcome to this second BRAP e-seminar, and we're looking forward to hearing about Facebook and YouTube.
Thank you, Linda. Yeah, hello and welcome to our second webinar, Social Media Channels. I'm very happy that so many of you are interested and are joining us today. I'm going to introduce myself shortly for those who don't know me yet. My name is Michaela Wein. I am a communication consultant from Vienna with a focus on social media. I used to work at the University of Vienna and the University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences Vienna, and I was responsible for the social media communication there. Now I'm self-employed as a consultant working for different organizations and enterprises regarding their social media strategies. So this is our second webinar. As I said, today we are going to talk about social media channels. Last week was about science communication and social media in general, but today we're going to focus on some of the biggest social media channels. Using these channels is an important way of promoting your field of research and boosting your scientific career. And in this seminar, we will focus on some of the main channels, the main networks, and take especially a closer look on Facebook and YouTube as two of the biggest ones. I'm going to talk for about 40 to 50 minutes, and then there's enough time for your questions. So let's start. Social media channels. What can these channels be used for, and how do you create valuable content? I will give you some insights into possible answers for these questions. You can see here the so-called social media map of 2021. It's quite big. As you can see, there are many social media channels. Streaming services like Spotify or Netflix are basically social media channels, but also other services like Reddit, Tinder, Meetup, Giphy. These are all social media channels. You probably can't read this list, it's very small, but you don't have to. I just wanted to show you and give you an idea of how many channels are out there. Of course, when we talk about social media, we usually mean networks such as Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So these are the results of the worldwide beekeeper survey from last year. The most important channels that you are using as information sources are Facebook and YouTube. Of course, that doesn't mean that you are active users in the sense that you upload YouTube videos, YouTube content regularly yourselves, but you use it as an information source. Linda, do you want to add something here to this slide?
Maybe very short, so that's to remind you that's the survey we are working on at the moment. And it's, you see the beekeepers use very few channels very frequently. And yes, that's the reason why we want to learn about these. Thank you.
Okay. So some numbers for you. This is a slide also from last week. Let's take a look at the numbers. As you can see, these are the biggest social media networks in the world and the number of users they have at the moment. Of course, no surprise here, Facebook is the biggest network, followed by Instagram and YouTube. Instagram is also the fastest growing platform at the moment. These numbers give us an idea of the size of those networks, but we don't have to keep in mind these numbers exactly, because they are not released regularly or by the companies, and they are and the number of users is counted in different ways. For example, the number of YouTube users or YouTube accounts is so high, not because 1.5 billion people are uploading video content on a regular basis, but because we all have a Gmail account. And when we have a Gmail account, we automatically have a YouTube account as well. So it doesn't say anything about the number of active users on a certain platform. Also, the percentage of inactive Twitter users is about 40 to 50% in some countries. So this number doesn't tell us very much. We also can see that Twitter, in comparison to Facebook, is a quite small network. I mean, 326 million isn't that small, but in comparison to Facebook with a 2.2 billion users, you can see there's a huge difference between these two numbers, of course. So let's start with a closer look on Facebook. We probably all know Facebook and have a profile there. It's the biggest network in the world, and other networks like Instagram or WhatsApp also belong to Facebook. What is interesting here is the fact that younger people tend to avoid Facebook more and more for several reasons. It's not that interesting anymore. Many younger users say that they don't like the content there, that there is too much, that there are too much ads, and that there is too much content they don't really like to see. So they change the platform. And it's also because their parents, teachers, and other older people are there. So they're looking for another platform naturally to communicate with their peers. We all, or most of us, didn't want to use other communication channels than our parents did. But nevertheless, Facebook is still the biggest network with lots of features that can be used and can be very valuable for your communication plan. Often my clients ask me if they should even start Facebook or if it's too late for that because of younger people not being there anymore. But it's still very relevant. And as I said, it's the biggest network with the most possibilities for posting and reaching an audience. Facebook is also a great starting point for your communication plan. Many of you probably already have an account and know how the network works in general. We know how to publish a posting. We've seen the news feed before, etc. So, and Facebook has many features, and you can try out different kinds of postings like videos, polls, etc. Whereas on Instagram, for example, you only can post, or there's a big focus on video and photo content. So first, we have to distinguish between three forms of presentation on Facebook. We have private profiles. That's usually the one with your name. So I have my personal Michaela Wein profile that I can use for staying in touch with my friends, posting to their profiles, posting updates, etc. And I can choose who's able to read my postings, who can use the chat with me, etc. So I have many possibilities to choose and to set my privacy settings as I wish. Then there are public sites, such as the Facebook site of the University of Vienna, for example. This is the public appearance of an organization. Everything posted by the site is public. Other users can be a fan of your site and follow your updates or postings. And then there's groups. Groups are a special kind of channel that can be used by profiles or sites. They can be public or private or even hidden. for no one to find them. Groups are meant for discussions, communication between different users on a certain topic. And as a site, I can create a group and be a moderator there. For example, as a university, I could start a group for people that are, let's say, interested in my student exchange program. So they can discuss their topics there and I can answer all their questions. Groups are actually quite popular at the moment, for example, for study groups as an alternative for WhatsApp groups. When we log in on Facebook, we see our newsfeed. And in our newsfeed, we can see the postings. We can see a mix of the postings published by our friends, the sites we follow, and the groups we are a part of. And of course, we can see ads. We don't see all of the postings that are published. Still, there are many people that think that every one of their fans will see every update they've posted as a site, but that is not the case. If you have a small Facebook site with, let's say, 500 fans, not 500 people will see your next update, but maybe 100 of them will see it. So the reach of the posting varies and depends on several factors. For example, it depends on the frequency of your postings. The longer you wait until the next posting, the lower you reach. This is why it's important to post on a regular basis. Another factor is the size of your site, so the number of your fans, and the type of your posting. If you always post a text with a photo, the reach won't be as good as it is for video content. Facebook loves video content. So if you post your video there, it will get a good reach usually. So you should vary your content and try different types of postings. And postings that only contain text without a photo, for example, but also postings with a text and then a link are considered very ineffective. People won't see them in their streams because they don't gain attention, and the possible reach is very low. So try to always add a photo to your posting, so people will see it, and it's better for your reach, for the reach of the posting. So this is not necessarily something that only applies for Facebook, but of course for all social media channels. But the exact factors that play a role here are a part of the algorithm of the specific network, and we don't exactly know how this algorithm works or what factors are a part of this algorithm. And of course, it's also changed on a regular basis. So what should we keep in mind when using Facebook? First, post regularly. That's not always easy. I wrote down here on the slide 3 times a week. I know this can be a lot, but in order to keep up the reach of your postings, you need to communicate on a regular basis. Maybe you can prepare content for the time for when you are on your vacation, for example, or the summer. I know it from the university. Summer is a very quiet time at the universities in Austria, because everyone is either on vacation and takes the time for research projects. So we don't really know what to post about, and some organizations then post something like, okay, we will be off for some time, we will see you in the fall, but that's not a good idea, because you will start in a very low reach in autumn again, and that's not very good. So try to keep up a minimum level of communication on this channel, but not on Facebook, of course, this applies also for other channels as well. Then next point, show your expertise and provide value with the topics you're posting about. Don't just share content from others or links to an article in a newspaper or something like that, but provide more information, your opinion, etc., etc. It can be a problem on Facebook, but especially on Twitter, it's often a problem because there are often users that only retweet postings by others, and that doesn't make much sense, because why should I follow someone who only retweets other content and doesn't really tell something special or something exclusively by him or her? So if I get no new information here, why should I follow you, basically? Next point, participate in discussions. That means, for example, on Facebook, participate in group discussions. Don't only post on your profile or site, but also get to know others, answer questions, of course, get into the conversation. This is an important point, and I think I will say this several times again today, but it's really important, and people often don't want that or are afraid that they could say something wrong online, but it's really an important part of social media. That's why it's called social media. Then stick to your strategy. So address your target groups. Keep in mind what your intention was when you started your social media channel. So what was your intention? What did you want to, or what do you want to achieve with this? And keep that in mind for the future. And don't be afraid of trying out new things. Facebook has, as I said, a lot of features, and there are several of them that are really interesting. For example, if you have a site that you manage, you could try out ads. This is a good way of achieving much with only a small budget. You don't need really thousands of dollars or euros or whatever for having an effect. You can boost an important posting, for example, to attract new fans with only a little budget, and it really helps your site to get more reach and more fans in the long run. Facebook is a really great starting point for your communication plan. Many of you probably have an account and know how the network works. We know how to publish a posting, and you can try out the different kinds of postings like videos, polls, etc. Facebook provides us with great insights also, so you always know what kind of people, what kind of persons you're reaching with your content, how your postings performed, and what kind of postings didn't. Another advantage of Facebook is that information tends to flow at a slower pace here than on other social networks. So it's not that time consuming like, for example, YouTube or Instagram. This is a posting in which the audience is asked for their help. It's a posting by the University of Natural Sciences, of Natural Resources and Life Sciences, Vienna, and the audience is asked for their help. It's about a special kind of bee that used to live in Asia, but recently has been spotted also in the Alps. And the Citizen Science Project tries to explore these bees and asks the audience for their photos of these insects to find, to be able to find more about them. So this is a case in which the audience is asked to get active and is not only the receiver of a message. So this is a great way for interacting with people and get more interaction. So these were some important points about Facebook. And now some insights or a closer look on YouTube. YouTube is the biggest video platform and also the second biggest search engine in the world. Only a small percentage of the many users actually create their own content there. But every minute 400 minutes of video content are uploaded on YouTube. So it's quite big and it's getting bigger every second. Video content plays an important role in branding and image communication. They are easier for our brain to process than text. And that's good because we all have a quite short attention span when it comes to online content. We scroll through our stream, and video content is a smart way because especially for complex topics to be explained, because you can use charts, images while explaining, for example, a problem or a certain topic. Very popular topics on YouTube are beauty, gaming, but also explainer videos. So 50% of the users use YouTube for learning something new. That is a huge asset, of course, for science communication, because explaining complex topics is something that I'm sure you all can do very well. And so this is something that could be very interesting for you. For corporate or organizational purposes, YouTube is often used as a platform where every video of the organization is presented and organized, but without any content strategy behind it or video content that is exclusively created for YouTube. This is a screenshot of the YouTube account of the University of Life Sciences and Natural Resources in Vienna. And as you can see, there are very long videos, over 3 hours long. These are live streams from events that took place at the university, but also you can find short clips, just 3 questions that got answered by a scientist. It's a nice collection of videos, and there are many of them. This is a quite big account. The frequency and number of subscribers is also good, but it's a classic example of a collection account on YouTube. There is no real strategy behind it, and there are no videos that are exclusively made for this purpose. So you can just find every video content that got produced for or by the university here. It's okay to do that, but the next step should be, of course, a bit more and an own strategy for the YouTube channel. This is a popular example from Germany. A journalist who's also a chemist explains in her videos different questions regarding chemistry and other scientific topics. At the moment, her videos about the coronavirus are very, very popular. There are videos, for example, about the vaccinations and their efficiency. Also, she explains her topics in a very usable context. For example, one time there was a video about the ingredients of shampoo and about the question if silicone in shampoo is a good thing or not. So she picks up on a practical problem, a question, and tries to answer it in an understandable way with a lot of scientific facts behind it. We already talked about the Facebook algorithm and reach. Of course, on YouTube, there are also several factors that play a role when it comes to your videos being found on the platform. It's basically a search engine, and you naturally want people to find your video on a certain subject on the first site of the search results, similar to Google. One aspect is the number of subscribers and comments. Of course, the bigger your channel already is, the better your ranking. Then there's views and watch time. If people never watch your video until the end, it's considered as not good, and so it's not good for your ranking. Then there's the length of the video. Videos that are at least 10 minutes long get usually a better ranking because they are considered as more in-depth going, and Google and YouTube always say that they want to create valuable content for the users, so they want to provide the users with videos that are in depth going, of course. And then there's the factor of keywords. It's about search engine optimization, that this naturally plays an important role here. It's always good to know some basics about SEO. Unfortunately, we can't cover that topic now, but one important thing to keep in mind here, think about what your video is really about and define the keywords similar to hashtags on Instagram or Twitter. And then use these keywords. Use your keywords in the title of your video, in the description of your video, and so on. It makes it easier for the audience to find the relevant content. So what should you do next? Try it. YouTube is still scary to many people because videos are not so easy to create, and it takes a lot more time than just publishing a tweet or posting something on Facebook. But it's not that complicated anymore. Many smartphones have great cameras that you can use for video content, and you don't need new equipment. There are also many apps that help you, and so on. Also post regularly. That's not easy, of course, but in order to keep up the reach again of your postings and your videos, you need to communicate on a regular basis. Show your expertise and provide value. Again, of course, doesn't matter which channel, it's always important to do that. And learn from the feedback of your audience. People can be very mean in the comment section, but nevertheless, take constructive criticism seriously and ask your audience in which topics they are interested. So you can learn something and you can provide them with the video content that they are looking for. Okay, next one is Twitter. Twitter is a smaller network compared to Instagram or Facebook, with more than 300 million active accounts. Not active, sorry, with more than 300 million accounts worldwide. Of course, there are many accounts that are not actively used. In Austria, for example, there are around 160,000 accounts, but only 70,000 of them are used for posting. So not even half of them. Twitter is mostly used by opinion leaders, by the media, by politicians, experts, and so on. And it also plays a role in science communication. Many scientists use it for promoting their work, for promoting new publications, but also for discussions with colleagues all over the world and positioning themselves as experts, of course. The main purpose on Twitter is social listening. That means that you find relevant discussions there and use it for research reasons. For organizations, it's an important tool to find out what people are talking about their products, for example, or the organization itself. And also, as a person, you, of course, can find out what people are talking about, your field of expertise, and you can use this information for discussions, for your work, etc. The interaction with others is a key element on Twitter too. It can be very frustrating to be on Twitter. As a new user, you often don't seem to get any new followers, no one reads your tweets. You have the feeling that nothing is happening. So you get to the point where you often lose interest and you stop tweeting. But the key to more followers and reach is the interaction, talking to others, retweeting their content, agreeing or disagreeing with others. This is an important part, and it's very, it's the most important part. Otherwise, people won't get to know you and your expertise. So participate in discussions and tweet regularly, ideally on a daily basis. And this is a typical example of a tweet published by a university, in this case, the University of Vienna. It contains a short text about the topic. We can use up to 280 characters for a tweet. Used to be 140, now it's 280. But 280 is quite a lot. So and no matter what platform, it also applies for Facebook, for example. If you can keep it down to, let's say, 240 characters, that would be ideal for Facebook posting. So we have the text, then we have a link to the online magazine of the university where the topic is explained in much more detail. And then you have the mentions of another university involved and the scientific magazine in which the original research paper has been published. Also, a hashtag is used. Mentions, hashtags help us to get more reach, and it helps other users to find our content. Don't use too many hashtags, 2 or 3 are usually enough, and try to use the right hashtags. This is not easy. A hashtag shouldn't be a term that is used too often, because if you use a hashtag like #science, it probably won't be specific enough. So you should find something or that is not too specific, but also not too general. Or you can, of course, establish your own hashtag if you use it on a regular basis. This is an example of a Twitter user who had a question about a mathematical problem, and he decided to tweet about it and mention Edward Witten in the tweet. Edward Witten is an American mathematician and a physicist, and he actually took the time to answer the question and help the Twitter user out, who was quite excited by the famous help. And this is a good example for connected communication mechanism. We can all get connected. We can talk to, on social media, we can talk to businesses, we can talk to celebrities, to politicians, and to scientists on an eye-to-eye level. So don't be afraid of talking to others if they seem to be more important to you, or celebrities. The worst thing that can happen is that they don't answer your question or your statement. These are 2 examples of Harvard University that show us that it doesn't always have to be about science, or it doesn't always have to be too serious or too complex. For example, in the tweet on the left, you can see a collection of photos with some lion images that can be found on the campus. And the other one is a slideshow with a number of old photos of the Harvard campus. It's also nice content, something historic. It works always very well. So an old photo of the university you work at, something like that. People like this sort of content. The slideshow is also a very interesting thing. It's actually a good content idea in general if you don't have any video content available. You can, for example, create a slideshow directly on Facebook. You can just upload your photos and choose a music, and then you have the slideshow finished. So to mix it up a little, you can create a content like this. So then we have Instagram. It's a platform with a focus on photos and video content, and it has grown very fast in the last years and is very popular for people between 20 and 35 years. It has always been considered as a platform for young people, but as it turns out, people younger than 20 are rather using platforms like TikTok or Snapchat. On Instagram, there is much content about lifestyle topics. So it's about food, blogging, fashion, sports, interior. But there are also many accounts about politics, science, etc. It's a good channel for brand building and brand awareness, but you need a smartphone for posting and you need one with a good camera so you can use the many features and posting forms, such as videos, reels, stories, etc. Also, a strong picture language is necessary. It's it's mostly emotional content that is uploaded. Your photos have to have a certain picture quality, and you should think about storytelling here. Also, it's a time-sensitive network. Influencers post on a daily basis, and especially if you're doing Instagram stories, you have to post them on a regular basis and check for the response because they are only available for 24 hours. Hashtags are also important here, so people can find your content. 5 to 7 hashtags per posting are recommended usually. Maybe you know this one. The Bee Influencer is an Instagram account that raises awareness for saving bees. It's the account of an imaginary bee influencer named Bee, and he reports very Instagram friendly from locations all over the world. Beautiful pictures, of course, very photoshopped. Yeah, very, very nice content and account. This screenshot shows you how picture language is very important on Instagram. You see the photo in your stream, or you see a new photo in your stream, and you already know by which account it has been posted, because every photo has a certain style, the colors are similar, and you just can recognize the style and know who posted it. So next is LinkedIn. One moment, please. So sorry. LinkedIn, it's the last network I want to talk about today. It's a social network for business relationships and career development. It can be very important tool for searching for a job, enhancing your professional reputation, and of course displaying your resume, and all in all creating a professional appearance. LinkedIn is very popular in the United States, as you can see. There are other business networks like Xing in Germany, Austria and Switzerland, but LinkedIn is the most popular one because of its international character. I was a bit surprised that LinkedIn didn't come up in the Beekeeper survey we saw at the beginning, because it's a network that is often used by scientists. And I get asked about it quite a lot, to be honest, by universities and scientific organizations, because it's quite important for them. But maybe it's just something that is important in Austria. Of course, these networks are used in different ways all over the world in different countries. This is a typical LinkedIn appearance of a university. Harvard University has a nice account there. You can find regular updates about the campus life, scientific research, news, etc. but also as an employee, of course, you can use LinkedIn to promote yourself, to present yourself. This is a profile of a scientist at the University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences, Vienna. He is using his account for presenting himself and his work in detail. You can find a long CV, many links to the projects he's been involved in. So this is always a good way to present yourself and promote your work by updating your existing LinkedIn profile to present yourself. So now we talked about different kinds of networks. Whatever network is interesting for you or your favorite one, here are some things to consider before you start with your communication plan. First, think about the strategic basics. We covered it last time in more detail. Ask yourself, what do I want to achieve? Set your goals. Then also think about the audience. Who do you want to reach with your communication? And also think about what fits your style. So if you don't like taking photos, you maybe shouldn't start Instagram. If you don't like hearing your own voice, you shouldn't start a podcast, and so on. So think about what kind of content you like yourself, and what network you personally like as well. Then an important point, another important aspect, of course, is the question for the resources. How much time and maybe also money do you have for this? Social media takes time. We saw it. We've seen it on Instagram, for example. You have to do stories on a regular basis. Making a video for YouTube also costs time. So you have to think about your resources. How much time can you spend for your social media appearance, of course. And also, of course, money plays an important role. So do you have money for Instagram ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, etc. And then choose the channel that seems to be best for you. What channels are the best fit for my plan and also for my resources. So these are things you should keep in mind or think about before you start doing something. So this was the second round of our webinar, of our 3 webinars. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we will talk about the future. We will talk about social media trends in more detail. So what is a trend? What is a hype? And which trends should we be aware of for the future? So thank you. Now it's time for your questions.